spy in the 1950s whom Nixon pursued, and there was a great movement that proclaimed Hiss's innocence. And Nixon was, regarded because of what he did in Hiss as a smearer, as a terrible person. Well, it turns out Nixon was right about Hiss. We know this from the so-called Venona papers of the Soviets. Hiss was a spy. And this festering thing with Nixon, you hear it over and over on the tapes. But look, it's going to take an awful lot of psychobiography to finally solve the riddle of Richard Nixon, because this goes back to basic character, his life, and we see it manifested as a whole, and as Bob says, the piston of his presidency.
Yeah, and then also, if you look, he was vice president for Eisenhower for 8 years, and there's some marvelous reporting that's been done on this, which shows that Nixon was snubbed by Eisenhower, that Eisenhower never brought him in, and Nixon felt that America was filled with a series of clubs that he could never get into. And it just burned him. And again, it's on the tapes. He'll say things like, "Oh, all those." He joined after he left the vice presidency and lost the governor's race in '62. He went to practice law on Wall Street, and he says on the tapes with this kind of seething bitterness, "Any of those lawyers ever asked me to their country clubs and asked me to go out and play golf with them? Not a one." And it burned, and it was a rage. And so when he won the presidency and then had to run again in '72, he felt he was entitled. If there's go.
What do you think would have happened if he told H.R. Haldeman, before we knew there was a taping system, he told him, "I want to get rid of those tapes," and Haldeman said, "Sure." And then he went back to him and said, "I want to do this." And again, Haldeman said, "Sure." I guess the question I have, what would have happened if they had burned the tapes or done something with them? And the question that I find interesting, why didn't Haldeman carry out this order? We know he did some things that were